Good evening. We bring you the latest in the world of sports. I'm Bea Diaz-Fabros.
We bring you the conversations you want to hear from your favorite icons and athletes. I'm Bea Escudero. And in tonight's Game Plan, Jules Samonte helps us discuss the finals of the Premier Volleyball League 2022 Open Conference and the epic journey of Team PLDT finishing 5th. Then our resident basketball mom, Bea Diaz-Fabros, gives her to-do list for 4 UAAP teams: Ateneo, NU, UE, and FEU.
And we'll get the story behind the amazing comeback of the Limitless App Masters to capture the 5th leg title in the PBA 3x3 second conference. Buckle up, sports fans. Let's get in the game. The Premier Volleyball League 2022 Open Conference Finals is finally blazing up, and as the Petrogas Angels challenge the Creamline Cool Smashers for the third straight time since 2019. To help us discuss the finals and their epic win for 5th plus her rookie conference in the heart of volleyball, we have PLDT high-speed hitter Jules Samonte. Jules, welcome to the game. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, and congratulations on ending your first PVL conference on a winning note. Now, you know, the game at hand currently is the first game for the finals between the Creamline Cool Smashers and the Petrogas Angels. So let's try to dig deeper onto the advantages of both teams, starting off with the Creamline Cool Smashers. Do you think that, you know, them being intact as a lineup and their chemistry is really the main reason as to why they are having their 6th straight finals appearance again this season?
Yeah, I think they have the advantage of being together for a longer time than Petrogas, because Petrogas is a relatively new team. So the chemistry talaga is hard to reach din eh. Especially because yun nga, Petrogas is a new team and Creamline has been together for how long na rin.
Yeah, that's right. Well, you know, that really has been the advantage for the Creamline Cool Smashers. But for Petrogas Angels, you know, they have a contrast to Creamline because they have a lot of new players, but they were able to manage to get into the finals. What do you think is the advantage of their team?
I think it's the eagerness to really get the wins then. Also, they're already like experienced players, so I think it was really easy for them to adjust to the system of the coaches.
Now, Jules, we know that you've played against both of these teams in the prelims already, and we also know that you have a lot of friends from Petrogas and from Creamline. But I want to know, and I hope that you can answer this specifically, no? Let's get some hot takes from Jules. Ano ba sa'yo yung bold predictions mo in this finals game? Sa tingin mo ba 3 games yung Creamline or 3 games yung Petrogas?
Well, it's really hard to tell kasi like what they say, bilog ang bola. So a lot of things can happen. Pero for me right now, because I watched some parts of the set 1 of today's game, and the middle blockers have been really delivering. So for me, I'm gonna have to put my cards on Creamline muna.
Okay, so Creamline Cool Smashers. All right, well, let's see if their chemistry will really be able to get them the crown this conference. But let's move on to the battle for 3rd between Chocomucho and Signal. And so far in Game 1, Chocomucho got that win just earlier this afternoon. What are your takes in that win of Chocomucho?
Well, everything went well for Chocomucho today. They were able to execute their plays correctly. Everyone delivered, and sadly on Signal's part, they weren't able to convert their first balls into attack points. So yun, Chocomucho was able to get the advantage of their strong serves, their offense. So yan.
Sa tingin mo ba, Jules, you know, in the coming games, how do you think it's gonna end up?
I can't really tell. It's like the first.
But you know, let's move on to your own experience in the
Yes.
PVL. It's your first ever season in the PVL. First of all, congratulations.
Thank
and you guys
you.
were able to end it on a winning note, ending at 5th place. So far, how has the experience been in the middle of the pandemic also?
Well, first of all, I'm really grateful to have been able to play and to be given this opportunity to play. Yun nga, kasi we're in the middle of the pandemic. And I'm really grateful then that we were able to end the conference on a positive note. Although we didn't get the outcome we wanted, But this is definitely a learning experience, and we're definitely gonna make the most out of this experience and work harder and grow together as a team.
Now, Jules, staying with your rookie season, if you could describe your rookie season in one word, what would it be and why?
It would have to be the word challenging, because all the teams we went against gave us a good fight, and there was definitely no game that was easy for us. We really had to work hard for every point.
Well, there's definitely no way but up for your team, given that you had a lot of players coming into the lineup this conference. But then for all your fans out there, for the PLDT high speed hitters, what is your message to them to keep on supporting you guys in the upcoming conferences?
Well, thank you sa lahat na nag-support as a team. We hope that you continue to support us, and we'll definitely work harder and come back stronger.
Okay, so on that note, thank you so much,
Thank you,
Jules.
Jules.
And
Thank
we'd
you.
like to see you again next time
Yes.
here in the studio. After the break.
Our resident basketball mom, Bea Daes Fabros, gives her to-do list for 4 UAAP teams: Ateneo, NU, UE, and FEU. Stay tuned, you're watching The Game. Welcome back to the game. Be sure not to miss the UAAP action tomorrow at the SM Mall of Asia Arena. At 10 a.m., it's the most awaited matchup between the UP Fighting Maroons and the De La Salle Green Archers. Then at 1 p.m., NU will take on UST. At 4 p.m., it is Ateneo versus UE. And at 7 p.m., Adamson battles FEU. Now it's time for us to break down some tips coming from our resident basketball mom, Bea Daes Fabros. Hello, Bea.
Hello, Bea also.
Oh my gosh, this is funny. Okay, so I know that you have like a to-do list for 4 of these UAAP teams. So let's just dive into it. Let's start first with the undefeated of the UAPs so far. So that's Ateneo Blue Eagles. Now your to-do list for them is never let your guard down.
All right, yeah, exactly what you mentioned. They should never let their guard down, despite being, the defending champions. They're gunning for that 4th straight title. They're riding on a 31-game winning streak. They have an average margin win this season of 15 points. But if you look at their last game versus NU, that the final score does not do justice to how close that game was. And I think for me and everyone else that was watching, even you mentioned that
we were just talking about it.
At one point in that 4th quarter, we actually thought that NU had a clear chance to win that ball game. They just fell short in the final 2 minutes when Ateneo had that 7-0 run. But it just goes to show that all the teams are really eyeing on Ateneo to, get that win over them, because that would really be a big confidence booster for all the teams out there. So for Ateneo Blue Eagles, they're playing like a well-oiled machine as expected. But, in each and every game, they must expect that all the other teams will come out hungrier in every game that they play in.
Now, just a quick question before we move on to the next team. Sa tingin mo ba, like, sino ba yung mga players specifically in Ateneo that's really shining through for the team?
Well, definitely it has to be Dave Ildefonso. I mean, I think that he's finally found a home in the Ateneo Blue Eagles once again. And he really has filled in those shoes of third-year Avena. And then, of course, you have Ange Kwame, who is still producing those double-double performances. But I think the most improved player so far for the Ateneo Blue Eagles has been Gian Mamuyak. I mean, before we all know that he's a defensive player, but then this year, he has shown that, he can shoot those shots from the outside. He has really developed that outside game.
Next, let's move on to the NU Bulldogs. So we talked about them earlier. That game was very, very tough, right? But your to-do list for them is cannot play catch-up basketball.
That's right, because in the past 2 games against FEU and Ateneo, starting off first with FEU, they were playing catch-up in the 3rd quarter. But luckily for them, they were still able to win that ball game. But up against Ateneo, in that 1st quarter, Ateneo outscored them 20-14. Playing catch-up against a team that, is so much more mature, so much more experienced, has the championship wealth under their belt, it will be hard for them to win games like that. But then don't get me wrong, I mean, at 2-3, this NU Bulldogs team has shown so much promise, and I really love the system of Coach Jeff Napa, because all his players in Janjan Felicilda, I mean, he will be the next face of the NU Bulldogs, Sean Ildefonso, JLC as well. They really thrive in the system of Coach Jeff Napa. So I think they can actually be the underdog in this season.
All right. Now next, let's move on to the UE Red Warriors. Okay. So they are the only team that's winless at the moment, right? So your to-do list for them is Clint Escamis needs to produce more offensively.
Clint Escamis, it's technically his first season in the UAAP, but much is expected of him to be that veteran point guard. And, he's shown glimpses that he can be that leader for the UE team, because he actually averages 5 rebounds, 5 assists. He's the leading assist.
Yes.
He leads in assists in the UAAP so far. But in terms of offensive production, in terms of points, he has to be able to help Harvey Pagsanhan. I mean, in the last game, he only had 2 points. Harvey Pagsanhan had 23 points, but then he was only shooting 25% from the field. So, as that court general, as the main facilitator, he needs to be able to put Harvey Pagsanhan in a better position to score, and also for himself, find ways to be able to contribute offensively for you.
Do you think that there are specific players other than Harvey Pagsanhan that we could actually focus more on to be able to deliver for UE?
Well, I mean, this team is a very young team. They're in the rebuilding stage. But then I like the way Nico Paranada plays in terms of the big men down low. I know they don't have any foreign player to compete with the other big men of other teams. But, Abdul Sawat, who has been the consistent starting center for UE, has been showing a lot of promise. And he really needs to be able to, stand his ground in the paint up against the other big men of all the other teams.
All right, Bea, let's move on to the FEU Tamiraos. Now, I'm very interested about this one because your to-do list was you cannot rely on RJ Abarientos too much.
Exactly. I mean, it just goes to show in their loss versus the NU Bulldogs. He had that career 30-plus point performance, and yet they still lost. Last game, he only scored 2 points. He was 1 out of 13 from the field, but they still won that game. Why? And that's because the other players stepped up. You had Cyrus Torres, who had a career performance, and we also have RJ Abarientos, and this FEU squad, they are very guard heavy, and ever since even in the past seasons, we all know that they have so much talent in their guards. So they cannot just rely on RJ Abarientos. I know there's a lot of hype given that he's one of the most highly touted rookies.
He did score 33 points, diba, against NU, so that was a very big deal.
That's right, but I'm sure Coach Olson Rosella always reminds them that it's not about the individual points or individual performances. At the end of the day, you gotta get the job done. And if he scores 2 points, but then they're able to get that win, I'm sure Coach O will get that any time of the day.
Do you think, though, that FEU still has a lot more to show? Or, are they still, parang, in a way, still trying to feel it out since, start pa lang naman talaga ng UAAP?
Definitely. I mean, I think that in the start of the season, there was a lot of pressure on them just because they were just the next team next to Ateneo, who had the same coach in season 82 up until season 84. But then, then again, you have the pandemic, that 2-year halt, and you cannot discredit that one. That would really, make it hard for the players to adjust. So they are at 2-3, but I'm sure definitely they have yet to reach their peak so far in season 84.
A very exciting UAAP season. And of course, we have to remind our viewers, diba, na pwede na fans.
Oo nga, I love it. Last week I was just there in the Mall of Asia Arena. Wala pang
How
fans.
was
But
that?
this Saturday, may fans na. So I'm
So
excited for that
yun,
one.
diba? Okay.
And this Thursday, actually. Tomorrow.
I know, tomorrow, correct. When we return, the Limitless App Masters join us as they share their journey back to the crown in the 5th leg of the PBA 3x3 second conference. Stay tuned, you're watching The Game.
welcome back to the game. As the PBA 3x3 Lakas ng Tatlo second conference continues to unfold, one team remains ahead of the pack after winning the fifth leg title. Joining us tonight is the top team of the league, fresh from their finals victory over the TNT Tropang Giga. We have Jory Napoles, Brandon Ganuelas-Rosser, Marvin Hayes, and Raymar Kaduyak of the Limitless App Masters. Mga idol, good evening and welcome to the game. Welcome to the studio.
And
First
congrats!
time
Thank you.
Oo nga, first time pero parado sila nasa show.
Oo nga, kuta na sila kasi lagi silang nananalo.
Kuta na.
But let's start things off with you, Jory. No? So, ikaw yung leading scorer sa championship game nyo versus TNT. You had 11 points there. You were able to clinch yung second championship nyo no? Dito sa fifth leg in the second conference. Ano yung pakiramdam na nakuha nyo finally yung championship this leg 5?
Sobrang saya kasi dagdag confidence sa amin sa leg 6 and sa grand finals. And siguro nagawa ko yung 11 points na yun kasi yung mga teammates ko, binibigyan ako ng confidence na tumira and of course, nagkikreate sila para sa akin.
Now, Brandon, let me go to you. Your corner 2 was really the dagger that really basically finished and you guys were able to win. Was that win extra special for you guys, especially since you guys did place second in the previous leg?
Yeah, I think anytime you win, it's special. You know, it's those legs are a grind. You know, it's a lot. It's like 7 games in 2 days. You're playing games multiple times a day, so it's always exciting to win. And then for us to bounce back after losing the leg before in the championship, that was our first time losing ever in the championship. So we just came back more hungry, and luckily the ball bounced our way, bounced my way on that shot.
Well, thankfully, you were able to get that shot and get your second championship in the second conference. But Raymar, sabi nga ni Brandon, it was the first time na natalo kayo sa finals up against Meralco dun sa fourth leg. So in terms of yung mental aspect, ano ba yung napag-agreehan nyo as a team going into leg 5 to be able to get that championship pa din versus Token Tex?
After ng game na yun, so nag-practice kami lahat ng motivation na kailangan namin, kinuha namin sa video, pinag-aralan namin yung mga mali namin. So doon kami nakakuha ng confidence para pagdating ng leg 5 maka-champion ulit kami.
Alright, move on naman tayo kay Marvin. Now, Marvin, alam naman ng buong Pilipinas na nanonood ng PBA 3x3 na yung Limitless App Masters. You guys really are the team to beat. Ano ba sa inyo yung sikreto sa pagpanalo nyo every single leg?
Siguro, yung team chemistry namin. So, matagal na rin kami magkakasama. So, last conference hanggang ngayon. So, yung chemistry lang namin. Then, as a kuya sa team namin, so lagi ko silang kinakausap na itong chance natin na makapunta dito, magkasama-sama tayo, parang dadaanan lang natin to eh. So, lagi ko silang kinakausap na enjoy lang natin yung bawat moment, then yung bawat game na parating. So, kailangan natin talaga mag-prepare kasi yung 3x3 kasi ibang game dito eh.
Ang
Kumbaga,
bilis, no?
mabilis yung pacing, hindi ka pwede magpahinga. So, kailangan lagi nag-uusap.
Tuloy-tuloy din yung mga games.
Yun. So, parang lagi lang kami excited na pupunta sa game. So, halos lahat kasi ng team, nagbago na yung mga lineup. So, kami lagi kaming magkakasama. So, siguro yun yung lamang namin, yung chemistry lang namin.
Ayan, thank you Kuya Marvin. Pero Jory, sabi nga ni Kuya Marvin na talagang madaming mga teams na nagbago na talaga ng lineup, pero kayo, intact pa din kayo. So talagang may pressure coming from everyone else na expected na kayo talaga yung mananalo. How do you guys handle the pressure, the external pressure from everyone else, expecting na kayo lagi yung maging champion?
Siguro yung namin yung pressure kasi andyan na yan eh. Kapag nga ako pumapasok, kinakabahan na ako eh. Pero,
Talaga parang hindi naman.
hindi, kapag mag-i-start pa lang yung game. Kasi halos ng team is malalakas na eh. Yung game pa, ang bilis. So, ang ginagawa namin, inaalam namin yung tendency ng each player and execute lang namin yung game plan namin and yung practice namin.
Now, Brandon, even a championship team, there's always ways to improve your game and your play and your chemistry. So for you, in what ways has your team tried to improve and in what aspect exactly?
I think all aspects, honestly. We can always shoot better. We can always defend better. We can always pass better. So I think us just keeping that mindset of being humble but also being hungry. We practice really hard. Shout out to JP and shout out to Jarek. They push us every day. That's our reserve players, and Coach Willie, he's really, has us in a really good system and a really good groove for us to, never plateau. We're always peaking, and you want to peak at the end of the conference because that's when the grand finals is. So hopefully we can repeat.
Well, alam mo Marvin, isa sa mga trademark na naging tatak sa Limitless App Masters, yung clutch gene ninyo. Parang compose kayo lagi kahit dikit yung laban na talagang
Parang hindi sila
naipakita nyo.
kinakabahan.
Oo, talagang naipakita nyo ito nung finals, nung last game nyo versus Talk and Text. Paano nyo napapractice yung composure nyo as a team?
Siguro, hindi lang kami nag-overconfident na going to the game. So, kada moment kasi na every game, alam namin na makakabalik kami. Kumbaga, yung parang maraming sitwasyon na nangyari sa amin na down kami, then makakabalik. So, kumbaga, yung tiwala lang namin sa isa't isa. Kung sino lang, hindi naman sa amin importante kung sino yung pinakamaraming points. Kumbaga, kung sino lang yung open, ibigay natin sa ganito. Kung may dumodoble sa'yo, ibigay natin. Kung sino yung pinaka-the best available. So, siguro yun yung lamang namin sa ibang team na alam namin kung saan nakapwesto yung isa, alam namin kung sino titira. So yun lang, kumbaga, binabasa lang namin yung sitwasyon.
And that's what makes a great team. Okay, now Raymar, ano naman yung message mo sa mga patuloy na sumusuporta sa Limitless App Masters?
Sa lahat ng sumusuporta sa Limitless, sa team namin, sana patuloy niyong suportahan. Patuloy niyong suportahan yung PBA 3XT. Huwag kayong magsawang sumuporta.
Well, on that point, on that note, Raymar, thank you so much. Again, we have Brandon Ganuelos, Rosser, Marvin Hayes.
Kuya Marvin.
Marvin
Captain.
Captain. And we have Jory Napoles, and also we have Raymar Kaduyak. So looking forward to seeing you guys again. If you guys win the
Thank you so
next
much.
leg 6. So good luck on the next leg, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Bea Escudero.
Catch us weeknights here on One News, One Sports, and One Sports Plus. I'm Bea Diaz Fabros, and this has been The Game.